High Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Confederation stood before the War Council, his tentacles twitching with barely contained frustration. The younger members of the Council had been pushing for military action against the newly discovered human civilization, seeing them as primitive and easy prey. They couldn't have been more wrong. "You want to know why we maintain our distance from Earth?" Zixtal's voice resonated through the chamber. "Let me tell you about the last species that underestimated the humans." The holoscreen flickered to life, showing the remnants of what was once the mighty Drachnid Empire, now nothing more than scattered asteroids and space debris. "The Drachnids were like you," he continued, gesturing to the younger council members. "They saw the humans' relatively primitive spacecraft and thought them weak. They saw their divided nations and thought them vulnerable. They saw their short lives and thought them insignificant." Zixtal pulled up another hologram, this one showing historical footage from the brief but devastating Earth-Drachnid War. What the Drachnids failed to understand was that humans don't fight like any other species in the galaxy. While we wage war with careful strategies and calculated moves, humans— He paused, his upper eyes blinking rapidly. "Humans fight like their planet's wildlife." The council chamber fell silent as footage played of human fighters deliberately ramming their ships into Drachnid warships, of soldiers charging into certain death to protect their companions, of tiny Earth vessels swarming and taking down ships 10 times their size. You see, every other spacefaring race evolved from prey species. We learned to be cautious, to plan, to avoid unnecessary risks. Humans? Zixtal laughed, a sound that made several council members flinch. Humans evolved as persistent predators. They don't know how to give up. They don't understand the concept of a hopeless situation. He brought up more data streams, showing human historical battles. In their brief history, humans have fought wars in freezing conditions that would kill most species, in deserts that would desiccate our bodies, in oceans deep enough to crush our vessels. They fought while outnumbered 10 to 1, while starving, while sick. And sometimes terrifyingly often they've won. A younger council member raised an appendage. "But surely their technology—" "Their technology?" Zixtal interrupted. "Let me tell you about human technology. They don't develop it like we do, through careful research and methodical testing. They improvise. They adapt. They take existing technology and use it in ways its creators never imagined. During the Drachnid War, they turned their primitive mining lasers into weapons that could crack capital ships. They modified their cargo vessels into makeshift carriers. They even weaponized their planet's primitive communication networks to crash Drachnid navigation systems." The commander pulled up one final hologram, showing the current state of Earth's defenses. "And now? Now they know they're not alone in the universe. They've recovered Drachnid technology. They've unified their planet's military forces. They've turned their entire asteroid belt into a defensive line." He looked each council member in their eyes. "But do you want to know the real reason we don't fight humans? It's not their persistence, or their adaptability, or even their growing military strength. It's what happened after the Drachnid War." The hologram showed human ships, not fighting, but providing aid to the surviving Drachnid colonies. It showed human doctors treating wounded Drachnid warriors, human engineers helping rebuild destroyed infrastructure. When the war ended, the humans didn't exterminate their enemies like the Drachnids would have done. They didn't enslave them like the Vorkath would have done. They helped them rebuild. They offered them alliance. They turned their most bitter enemies into their strongest supporters. Zixtal shut down the holograms, leaving the chamber in contemplative darkness. "That's why we never fight the humans. Not because we're afraid we'll lose, though we very well might. We don't fight them because they're far more valuable as potential allies than as enemies. A species that can show mercy to those who showed them none, that can build bridges where others would sow destruction. That is a species that might just help us all become better than we are. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment before the High Commander spoke again. So, shall we vote on that proposal for military action against Earth? One by one, the council members withdrew their support for the invasion. As they filed out of the chamber, Zixtal allowed himself a small smile. He'd seen firsthand what humans could do in war, but more importantly, he'd seen what they could do in peace. And he knew that someday, when the Confederation was ready, they would reach out to Earth, not with weapons, but with open arms. Because sometimes, the most powerful force in the universe isn't the ability to win a war, it's the wisdom to avoid one altogether.